everyone, welcome back to my channel. Yes, today is Wednesday. Oh no, Wednesday is spooky animation. I can't clap. But let's start greetings. Hello, my name is Daniel. I am your host here.
Guy in the chair.
And today we'll be watching True Wendy's horror story. So let's get into it. Enjoy and check it. So enjoy.
My name is Hayden. This happened to me about a year ago when I was 17. It was the middle of the day, and I was at a rehearsal for a sketch comedy group. It was lunchtime, and my friend, let's call him Ron, asked if I wanted to go with him to get something to eat. I agreed, got in the passenger seat of his car, and we started looking for a fast food place. Ron spotted a Wendy's nearby and asked if I wanted to eat there. I said, sure. When we got inside, there was a short line. One person in the line stood out to me. It was a man who looked to be in his mid-20s, African-American with a hoodie, gray sweatpants, and sandals. He looked normal, nothing out of the ordinary, but I had a gut feeling that there was something wrong here. Something about it just felt off. When it was our turn to order, the man left through a side door that was on the opposite side of the building from the entrance that we had used. We ordered our food, and Ron chose a table that was right next to the door the man had just left through. We sat down across from each other. I looked out the window. I noticed that there was a red bike parked right outside, but I didn't think anything of it. I reached into my bag to grab my food. When I looked back up at Ron, I froze. The man was outside the window, staring at Ron from behind. His eyes were wide, bloodshot, creeped me out, to say the least. Ron hadn't noticed him, but then I saw something that scared me. On his back was a holster, and in that holster was a machete. I looked back at Ron, lowered my voice. Ron, don't look behind you. There's a man staring at you from outside, and he has a machete. Ron's expression changed, but he didn't panic. He simply sat there and said, okay. We sat there quietly, not knowing what to do other than wait for the man to leave. We looked at each other and started to smile and giggle uncomfortably to lighten the mood. The man finally moved after about a minute or two, and I watched him to see where he would go. He moved around to the back of the restaurant, pressed his face up against another window. Again, he stared at us with these wide, bloodshot eyes, and I could see the handle of the machete clearly. I tried to think of what I should do next, so I got up and went up to an employee, told him what was happening, and asked him to call the police. He gave me this lazy look and said, I will. I went back to my seat and got an idea. I wanted to take a picture of the man to show the police, but I didn't want the man to know it. So I took out my phone and aimed it at Ron while very subtly angling it to get that creepy man in the background. Smile, I said to Ron. He seemed to understand what I was implying. He faked a pose. After taking the pictures, I noticed that the few other people in the restaurant still somehow hadn't noticed this man, so I got up and told them. And when they saw him, I could tell that they were frightened. They started to talk amongst themselves about what should they do. Well, I thought about trying to leave, but with the man outside, I did not want to take that risk, knowing who knows what he would do if we tried to leave. The man could also easily come inside and do God knows what. I realized that we were pretty much trapped. The man still had his face pressed up against the glass, standing perfectly still, staring at us with these wide, bloodshot eyes. I soon realized that the worker had never actually called the police, because if he had, they would have been there by that time. So I got annoyed and decided to take things into my own hands. I took out my phone again and I dialed 911. As soon as I did, the man moved. My heart dropped. The man started to circle his way back around to the side door next to our table. I thought that he was going to come inside. Instead, luckily, he got on that bike that was parked right outside our window. He rode away. I watched as he rode behind another building, and I breathed this sigh of relief. Ron got the restaurant manager while I described what the man looked like to the police. They told me that they would look for him, but they probably wouldn't be able to charge him with anything since he technically hadn't really committed any crimes. All they could do was ban him from the location. The police told us to stay put until they called back, so Ron and I sat down back at our table to finish our meal. And while we were eating, I was obviously afraid that the man would come back, but luckily he never did. We saw police in their cars outside searching for him. When the police finally called back, they told me that they couldn't find anyone who fit the description I gave them, but they were sure it was safe to leave. So I thanked them and hung up. When we finished our food, we carefully stepped outside and looked around to make sure that the man was truly gone. Then we dashed for the car, drove back to theater practice. I had to call our director and explain why we were 30 minutes late. When we got back, Ron and I had a good laugh about it with our friends about the experience, but I'm 18 now and the man has still never been caught. Ron and I still like to talk about the story from time to time. We think that he was definitely some sort of mentally ill, and I'm pretty sure that he was on some sort of drugs since his eyes were so bloodshot. I try to think of logical reasons for why he could possibly have a machete. Like, maybe he was a gardener or something, but that really still wouldn't explain his weird behavior. I'm sure he didn't have any good intentions, and I'm glad the series of events ended up playing out the way that it did, because things could have ended up much, much worse.
Oh, hey guys, that's why stranger danger is a real thing. I don't know what that guy was up to, but hey, what would you do if you seen someone staring in the window? I scream at him or something. I don't know. I probably wouldn't have kept my cool like that. Them guys did. They did. I no, not me. I would freak the hell out. But that's just me. But here's what I would say: like, comment, share, and subscribe. But I leave with this number right here. I've had an awesome night, and the rest of the day goes really well. Even though the storm is just about over now. But I'll see you in the next video. Bye.